3,000 years before the War of Vengeance saw the everlasting mountain realms of the dwarfs and shimmering colonies of the elves crumble into ruin, a god of battle strode unflinchingly towards his oblivion. His name was Grimnir, venerated ancestor of the Dawi, and upon a rent in reality in the far chaos wastes, he held back an unending tide of demons until the vortex on Ulthuan was completed. He was never seen again, but his sacrifice inspired generation upon generation, and it was King Dragon Ironfist who dedicated a great shrine in his name, deep in the heart of the Slayer Keep. Millennia passed, and the once great Kara's Anchor was but a shadow of its former glory when Ungrim Ironfist took the throne. He is last in the famed line of Slayer Kings, ever torn between his oaths to his people and his desire for death at the hands, teeth, or claws of a worthy foe. Harboring those warriors whose minds had buckled under the weight of overwhelming loss, Karak Kadrin became the home of those who sought exile and a mighty end worthy of their patron god. When news came of a twin-tailed comet destabilizing the magics at the heart of Ulthuan, Ungrim knew the fate of his people ultimately lay in the war for the Vortex, and the greatest warriors of an age would fight for its power. The dreadnought ironclads of Barak Var sailed his army to Lustria, where the predators of that steaming jungle and the raging dragons of Caledor were already at war. Much like the Slayer King, Prince Imrik of Caledor rules a dwindling realm, a once glorious kingdom, now fallen into shadow. There was a time when the dragon-spined mountains echoed with the roars of mighty creatures, and the nobles of Val's Anvil rode them into battle on aerial displays without equal in the history of the planet. But those times are gone, and Caledor is silent. Few dragons remain, and even fewer stir from their slumber in the shadow of the Forge God. But there are champions from this realm who still recall the glories of ancient times, and none do so quite like Imrik, last of the line of Caledor the Conqueror. He once lay dying on the Amari foothills, bled by dozens of dark elf blades, but as his spirit waned, a legendary dragon awoke from his slumber nearby. Taking flight, then scouring the battlefield with flame, the ancient Minaithnir came to his aid, and ripped the Nagarathi army apart. He saved Imrik that day, and from that point on, they were inseparable on the battlefield, a force of nature with no equal in all of Ulthuan. The dragon has never spoken of his reasons for joining their fates, and Imrik, displaying the hubris common to his bloodline, thought it merely a sign that Caledor's star was ascendant once more. Only as the Ranadandra looms and the cataclysm approaches, has Imrik ever considered that Minaithnir's loyalty serves a greater purpose. So the dwarfs of the Slayer Keep and the Elves of Caledor meet for battle in the jungles of Lustria, the pride of the Knife Ears, the stubbornness of dwarfs, and the lingering hatred these two races still share millennia later, bubbling over into outright conflict. Dragon Mage of Caledor has come as well, haunted by visions of fire and blood, and riding a sun dragon in Ulthuan's defense. And cannons will pretty much force the elves to get their asses moving into high gear real quick, as that martial prowess buff can go by real fast when gunpowder weapons are ripping your formations in half. And Imrik of Caledor and the terrifying star dragon Minaithnir partnered up, ready to toast some Dawi marshmallows. This is what Ungrim Ironfist and the Axe of Dargo are meant for, though. If the dragon cloak he wears is any indication, both armies are split into two, each led by the lords and heroes of their respective factions. And it's time to get the War of the Beard 2.0 popping off with some cannon fire directed at the Sword Masters of Hoeth, who are going to take a beating on the way in as a bunch of artillery fire slams through their ranks, and a lot of them bisected right off the bat. Slayer Keep not really known for their artillery crews, but they can snipe with the best of them. If you ask them to hit a dragon's eye at a half-mile distance, they'd ask you which eye, because they could do it easy. So hitting a whole formation of Swordmasters, not much of a problem, but there is a ton of armor piercing on the field for the High Elves here. A lot of White Lions, a lot of Swordmasters, but once they cross the killing zone, they'll be met by hammers, iron breakers, and a whole lot of Slayers. Let's be honest, you cannot play Karak Kadrin with Ungrim at the helm if you aren't fielding a bunch of ginger mohawk fanatics. Those Swordmasters are seriously getting smashed right now by cannon fire. But the lines will close in very soon. On the left flank for Karak Kadrin, Silverhelms have moved up, and they've been ambushed by Ironbreakers and their blasting charges. Firing from the safety of the mangroves, that is going to be a tough charge for Silverhelms to deal with. They're going to want to disengage very quickly if they stay in prolonged combat. They just won't do any damage. There's no point sticking around, so they will retreat and eat one more blasting charge volley to the face, or maybe to the ass as they run away. And they'll need to find a new spot to charge in from, because the Ironbreakers have that spot on lock. Bugman's Rangers are here, providing some drunken killing power from range. Absolutely sloshed with some XXX brew running through those veins. They've got 45 armor and a shield block chance, so they can certainly go toe-to-toe with the High Elf archers at range. 160 range on them, and they'll trade very cost-effectively with most of the High Elf range units. No Lothern Seaguard on the field today, but cannons still absolutely pounding those High Elf Swordmasters into oblivion. But closer the Azure get, the sooner they'll be able to even up those numbers and silence those cannons for good. But Midnight had enough of watching his allies die, unleashing some strawberry milkshake flame breath at the length of Ungrim's personal bodyguard. And they'll be feeling that one. They'll be feeling that real nice. Great use of the breath attack, ripping a hole in their formation, taking them down past half strength or so. Very, very nice. Yeah, you don't want to be getting hit by star breath attacks. They have a whole lot of AP component, and they will rip through hammers, they will rip through Ironbreakers, and Sun Dragon Breath more than enough to deal with Dwarf Warriors in the front ranks. Really nice one from the Dragon Mage of Caledor. Will even up the numbers even more, allow those White Lions to get a nice charge off, although they're also at half strength. So it's been a torrid, brutal affair already, and just now, for the first time, the infantry lines have clashed. Dwarf Warriors into the White Lions. They will lose that handily without support. More Dwarf Warriors charging forward into the High Elf Spearmen, and that is just an epic sight. The colors of Lothern and the colors of Karak Kadrin smashing into each other, and all across the line, infantry formations getting into combat. Ungrim Ironfist decapitating a White Lion with the Axe of Dargo, and he is going to provide that support the Dwarf Warriors need to have any hope of winning that engagement. Lots of heads going flying, and we'll move down the line here as more artillery pours in. Midnight and Imrik trying to anchor the High Elves as they push forward and break the Dwarfs in the center. Silverhelms charging forward. There are a lot of Slayers waiting, ready to chop them up into little itty-bitty pieces. The White Lions of Krace will get into the hammers here. We are using a reskin, by the way. The Dwarfs of Karak Kadrin by Woodtur. Really gorgeous looking reskin. It's amazing what people can actually do with some of these kit bash. You can't add assets, right? You can only kit bash existing models and existing stuff that's already in the game, but you can make it look real nice, and this is a perfect example. It looks amazing. If you ever want to play a Karak Kadrin campaign, I would definitely recommend it. But all components of both armies have clashed now, and Dragon Mage of Caledor opening up the skies for some piercing bolts of burning. Overcasting that will get that extra armor piercing component, and they'll do some nice damage to both the Slayers and the hammers that are stuck in melee combat there. As the Azure Spearmen on the right flank and the remnants of the White Lions are being run over. Ungrim Ironfist and the support he brought with the Axe of Dargo more than enough to break them. But the Dragons have pretty much free reign in the back lines, and the cannons are being overwhelmed. Artillery crew have no chance here as both cannons get destroyed, and an unfortunate crewman gets ripped in half by that Dragon Breath. More Slayers trying to get around the flank. White Lions and the High Elves in general doing much better on their left flank and in the center. Even with the Ironbreakers holding the line here, White Lions and Swordmasters, if they get in and behind, should be able to break through that. But so much arrow fire crisscrossing both ways. Archers looking to reposition. Don't want to have them firing into the front of a sturdy dwarf shield wall. Too much armor, too much missile block chance to have a realistic chance of doing a lot of damage. And Imrik and Midnight are still kicking so much ass in the back lines, now dealing with a bunch of hammers. White Lions trying their best to cut through these Slayers. Dragonback Slayers shoved in there as well. And pretty much only the Slayers of Karak Kadrin holding the line here. The hammers have pretty much been shattered by the Dragons of Caledor, who are rampaging, just slaughtering everything in sight. And Imrik of Caledor has the Dragon Horn, which is an incredibly powerful ability. Essentially gives him the ability to make the entire field unbreakable for the High Elves for 24 seconds. Insanely powerful tool if used at the right time. Game changing even. And he just has so much mobility right now. And this is the problem the Dwarfs have. They don't have a good way of tying them down except for those the Giant Slayer heroes with their Tormentor Sword. If they don't get over here in time, then this Star Dragon is just gonna do so much work carving through the Slayers. If they don't completely surround him, they're just not gonna do enough damage for him to really care. And there is a Life Mage on the field, so Regrowth constantly on top of Midnight Aether will keep him in the fight. No matter how low he drops, that Regrowth will bring him back up to full. And one of the Giant Slayers is on this side with that pretty scary two-handed axe, decapitating a bunch of High Elves. It looks so awesome. And rocking Ungrim's famous mohawk at the moment. But the battle lines have shifted quite a bit since we first started this game. Dwarves of Karak Kadrin have pushed back a lot of the High Elf infantry, even beaten back a lot of the elite infantry. The Swordmasters have fallen. A lot of the White Lions are dead. But the Dragons are still around and still mostly at full HP. In fact, both of them pretty much are. Dragon Mage is taking some damage here. Ungrim will look to get his axe biting into the hide of that thing pretty soon, if it decides to land, when it decides to land. But, again, the Dragons have the advantage of mobility, and they have the advantage of causing terror. The Slayers, unbreakable, won't care about that at all. Ungrim, unbreakable, won't care about it. But when they're working in tandem with each other like this, isolating the Dwarf units, they can carve a path of red ruin, the likes of which very few monsters in Warhammer can. And Tyrannok chariots are still on the field as well, and can be unleashed into the Dwarf infantry lines. Dragonback Slayers backed up by Ungrim himself, slamming into the flank. And that Dragon Mage does not want to fight Ungrim. Very good melee combatant, but if you're miscasting, that can be a bit of an issue for sure, as he drops another Piercing Bolt of Burning, and that was a really nice one. A lot of blobbed up dwarfs right there. Ironbreakers managed to hold the line, and the High Elf infantry was pushed back. Archers now being overrun. Balance war shifting a little bit in Karak Kadrin's favor, but Imrik and Midnight Aether are not even remotely done, slamming into a big formation of dwarfs, making some crimson pancakes out of the stunties. And every snap of that tail, every bite with those powerful jaws, sending more and more Dawi to meet their ancestors. Do they have an answer to Imrik and that terrifying Star Dragon? They've run roughshod on the battle so far, still have Dragon Breath left, so could still do a lot more work, and still has the support of that Life Mage as well. But the Archers getting cut down here. I mean, they really should not be fighting Ironbreakers, but they're out of ammo, so they don't really have much use for this battle except for running into melee and dying in droves, providing some kind of meat shield. Tyrannok chariots got into the Bugman's Rangers, pulling through, doing a lot of damage to them, but are they going to disengage in time? They're moving pretty slow. I'm kind of surprised, actually, how well the Bugman's Rangers are holding on right there, and they blobbed them up long enough to actually kill some of the models there. Chariots going down, Ungrim doing a weird breakdance, glitching out super hard as that Tyrannok chariot pushes him around a bit, and now surrounded by the bodyguards of the Slayer King. Those hammerers with their AP should be more than enough to bring it down, and yes, another Tyrannok chariot goes down. That chariot should be out of the fight for good now. And Star Dragon, yep, some more strawberry milkshake incoming. Very nice one. Not a game-changing ultimate or breath attack right there. Stuck in my Vermintide gameplay, but yeah, that was a nice breath, did a lot of damage. And Imrik will look to seek out the Slayer King. Now, Ungrim Ironfist, obviously, on paper, designed to kill monsters. In the lore, absolutely that is his job. In game, not necessarily amazing for killing monsters if he's fighting 1v1, because they can knock him around and he has no knockdown immunity, which is of course one thing that should really change as Midnight Aether continues to feast on the Dawi army, toasting up some tasty morsels. Yeah, characters like Ungrim, Grimgor should really not be spending half of a multiplayer match on their butts as they get bullied and thrown around repeatedly. It is unbecoming of the Slayer King for a mere monster to repeatedly send him flying. A dwarf's feet belong firmly on solid ground, so yes, I would very much like to see knockdown immunity for certain lords like Ungrim, like Grimgor, even if it could end up hurting them in some instances in that they don't get the damage and vulnerability while they're lying prone. Imrik and his Star Dragon are covered in blood. The battlefield is soaked in the crimson lifeblood of so many warriors, both Dawi and Azur alike, and he's still looking for something to land on and murder. And another breath attack coming in that will be a very nice one on top of a big blob. Bit of the breath attack missed, But still, maybe those hammers hadn't taken quite enough damage to go down completely there. But another regrowth on top of him, and he'll be pretty much back up to full. But now we get the duel we've been looking for. Ungrim Ironfist, the Slayer King, and Prince Imrik of Caledor, rulers of realms that were once glorious, now shadows of their former selves. And Ungrim with that Axe of Dargo will slam it into the hide of the beast, and that will not make him very pleased. Dragon gonna bite at him. Oh god, it looked like he died there. It looked like he got completely swallowed up there. That was awesome looking. And yeah, now we're gonna see Ungrim get bullied a bit here for sure. He can't beat a Star Dragon anyway, even if he wasn't getting knocked down. He does not have the stats to deal with like 8,000 HP and all that armor-piercing damage. But Dragon Mage of Caledor sending a Giant Slayer flying, going about like 45 feet there, and it will get back up. And he has the Tormentor Sword, which is a really big deal. He will pop it, and it's not gonna matter actually, at least not for the Dragon Mage, who manages to take off just in time. But it will pin Imrik and Midnight Aether in place for the moment and allow the Slayers to close in. But can they deal with two dragons at once? There aren't a lot of dwarfs left on the field. Tail thwaps, sending them flying, cutting them to pieces, and the Dragon Mage of Caledor goes down here. Sun Dragon is dead, and so is the Fire Mage atop it. And that leaves Midnight Aether and Imrik alone against a horde of Dawi. Well, when I say a horde, remnants of what was a legit army. Not much anymore. Few hammers, few slayers. But as powerful as the Prince of Caledor is, and as big an impact as his dragon has had this battle, it will not be enough to win the day. And they will go running with what's a sliver of HP, probably 150, 200 health left. Yeah, he'll take off, and that will be your game. Well, except we have one more thing to watch. The Life Mage, who's been sitting back there the entire time, kind of hiding in the mangroves, casting, trying to keep the dragon alive, doing a very admirable job of it, charging in. And she may be a Life Mage, but while she has the power to give it, she also has the power to take it, and decapitating an unfortunate Slayer. One Slayer goes down before she decides to book it and get the hell out of there as well. Really fun battle. It's awesome to see the High Elves and the Dwarfs go at it. Pretty close one. And the dragons, especially Midnight Aether and Imrik atop him, were handled exceptionally well. I mean, 253 kills, especially considering how many elite troops were on the field for the Dawi of Karak Kadrin. That's pretty impressive. Some really nice breath attacks. Dragon Mage of Caledor got some fantastic casts off of Piercing Bolts of Burning. Not a spell you see used all that often, but it can be quite decent against armored troops if they're sitting in a blob. And it's just fun, man. It's just fun to get these kind of theme battles in. As always, modders providing so much replayability to this already awesome game. Just want to give a huge shout out to anyone who's ever done modding in the Total War community, or really for any game. You guys are a huge deal, a huge reason why content creators like me are able to do what we do. And I just want to say thanks for that, because it makes for awesome videos, and it makes for really entertaining gameplay as well. So hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Andy Pride, signing out for now.